This is a 2021 Hyundai Elantra SEL, now starting its 7th generation with this model year. And that means you get this slick new body, an updated powertrain, and plenty of new tech inside. My name is Robin Warner, an experienced engineer and magazine editor, and I want to tell you more about it. Hyundai is going big in the compact car market with its new generation model, and I mean that literally, as it is bigger and wider than the outgoing model, with a longer wheelbase too. That makes it a tiny bit bigger than its competitors, but everything is growing, so only marginally so. In fact, the 2021 Elantra is roughly the same length as a third-generation Hyundai Sonata from the late 90s. The Elantra SEL is the middle of 3 trims available in 2021, above the SE but beneath the Limited. That is, of course, separate from the Elantra Hybrid and N-Line models. That means you get automatic climate control, but go without the larger 10.25-inch center console screen. You get an 8-inch screen instead. Propelling along this swoopy sedan is a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder engine producing a peak output of 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque, which bolts up to a continuously variable transmission and then sends power to the front wheels. The base price for the 2021 Hyundai Elantra SEL is $21,905, and my test car cost $25,110. For those that are interested, I included detailed specifications, including dimensions, fuel economy, and options in the description. All right, let's take a look around the car. Well, here it is, the 7th generation Hyundai Elantra. It is the company's compact car, but it is getting pretty darn big, 184.1 inches long. That is 2.2 inches longer and 1 inch wider than the outgoing model, and it also has an 0.8 of an inch longer wheelbase. Now, it is also 0.8 of an inch lower to the ground, but definitely still bigger overall. Thanks to the premium package, it is on 17-inch instead of 16-inch wheels, and it also has a nicer stereo, a moonroof, and some other bits and bobs. This particular Elantra is painted in quartz white paint, which looks lovely. And this Elantra has a swoopy new body. And obviously it's hard to miss the new front grille. It's very big, very imposing. It's got a lot of shapes built into it, triangles, pentagons, and just kind of giving this very three-dimensional, very look-at-me kind of stance. And that's coupled with some interesting dark accents down here, and then a white paint front spoiler beneath that. The headlights are very aggressive and incorporated into the end of the grille, and Hyundai is not bashful about letting you know what it is, which I appreciate. I think they did a really good job with the profile shape of this car. It's definitely following the trend of giving you that 4-door coupe shape, and I'm using air quotes, 4-door coupe. But here it's executed well. This right here is your external XM satellite radio antenna, and looking in back, you know, it is an aggressive looking car back here too. As we move into the shade, you see that they kind of gave this like long nose extension that goes past, and then the tail lights kind of duck back in where it says Elantra there. And then you do have a lot of interesting work down here in the lower section of the rear as well, but don't be fooled, those are not exhaust tailpipes or anything like that. I don't think they're necessarily trying to make them look like that, but in case you think they are, they're not. The actual exhaust is way down under here hanging out, and you know what, that is just fine. I have to say, overall the shape is striking and well executed. They did a good job with character lines running through the doors and the side, and the wheels meet the shape of the car really well. It's much more aggressive, much swoopier than the outgoing model, and really makes a strong styling case for itself. Let's take a look inside. The first thing you notice when you look inside is that Hyundai is taking cues from the premium brands and adding this 2 widescreen touchscreen approach for the instrument cluster and center console. And, you know, I have to say it's executed well, though I'm not in love with this faux kind of fake dial styling cue right there. As I said earlier, the premium package gave me the fancier stereo. That was a $2,100 option, but I do like the 17-inch wheels and moonroof as well. The door trim is nicely done. It has nice stitching right here, the usual features right here. Good space for your usual bits and bobs. The seat does have the usual adjustment in here, and it is powered. This car is equipped with the $950 convenience package, which is what gives me the bigger 10.25-inch instrument cluster screen. Otherwise, it would be a 4.2-inch screen in the center and then real gauges on either side. And I don't know, it's fine. It's a well-executed screen, but I wouldn't say that I would mind having real gauges. This is the smaller of two center console screens offered. This is the 8-inch screen. A 10.25-inch screen is available on the limited models, but this suits me fine. I like having real volume knobs here. I like having these buttons here. I'm not upset that it's those things instead of a bigger screen. The rest of the car is well laid out, clean, you know, automatic climate control. Part of that convenience package also gives me Qi wireless charging, heated seats, leather wrapped steering wheel. So I like that. Oh, and here's a neat trick. Cup holders. Those look reasonable, right? But see where it says switch? Flip that around and boom, look at that. All of a sudden, those things go deep. And that means like you can have regular coffee in the perfect place right here. But then if you get yourself like a big gulp sized drink, it's still well secured and it goes down there. So it's a novel little thing, but I have to say it's useful. Underneath this stuff, you also have different charging options and things like that. But this car does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. So, and of course, you know, a little bit of storage back here, things like that. Looking up here, here's the operation for the moonroof, which is right here. This is a very comfortable, elegant, competent interior. You know, looking at the steering wheel, the different options you have, this does have the adaptive cruise control, which is an optional extra. But just the styling of the steering wheel and the way it's executed, this is a compact car, but it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. It has just a real nice layout. It's clean. It has plenty of features. And, you know, I have to say, it drives pretty darn well too. Reasonable width, you know, the middle passenger be a little bit pinched in there, but if you only have to seat 4, they get cup holders. And this is the way I like having the seat set for me in front, and that gives me plenty of legroom for rear passengers. Look at that. And even if you have it all the way back, that's still, it's enough legroom. It'd be a little bit pinched, but not bad. And stepping out, it's pretty well hidden. There's a little button right there. And there's your trunk space. Nothing huge, but certainly not bad. Plenty competitive for the class. That's certainly true. Hi everybody. Here it is, 2021 Hyundai Elantra, and this is the 7th generation model. I know I've said that a couple times already, but kind of exciting. You know, Hyundai works very hard to make big improvements to their cars very quickly, and this is no exception. This is a big difference over the 6th generation Elantra, and that was a huge difference over the 5th generation model. But I actually want to start with the least exciting part about this new car, and that's the engine, because it's pretty much carryover from the last model. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, 147 horsepower, 132 pound-feet of torque. And these days, those numbers are kind of on the low side for a 2-liter motor. First of all, it's not turbocharged, of course, but also it runs on the Atkinson cycle. And what that means, basically, is that it has a longer expansion stroke than it does compression stroke. And that's done with some tricks with the way the valves are opened and closed. The important thing to know is that engines that run the Atkinson cycle make less power density, but they are more efficient. So that is part of what helps this Elantra make 31 miles to the gallon in the city, 41 miles to the gallon on the highway, 35 combined. And those are pretty darn decent figures for a car that doesn't get any kind of hybrid help, mild hybrid or otherwise. 31 miles to the gallon in the city, that's pretty good, right? And yes, this is Hyundai's compact car, but it's really not that small. 184.1 inches is almost the same size as the BMW 3 Series from not that long ago. And like I mentioned earlier, Hyundai Sonatas, their midsize sedan, was 184 inches in the late 90s. So, you know, lots of change, things have grown, and that means that 31 miles to the gallon is that much more impressive. Another reason why you see, you know, pretty darn decent fuel economy numbers is this new CVT transmission, continuously variable transmission. Historically, CVTs are good at eking out just a little bit more fuel economy, but they're also terrible for driving enthusiasts. And that's what it was, one of the biggest surprises when getting in this car. This CVT transmission behaves really, really well. It does have much closer than you'd expect traditional automatic transmission behavior. And when I say traditional, I mean modern traditional automatic behavior. You know, good snap, increased revs, you get good acceleration, and this transmission has a lot of software to fake gear shifts. So if you get on the gas, you get shifts and it feels like you're using an automatic transmission, but there's no gears here. And I have to say, Hyundai did a really, really good job. Like, seriously, this is the best CVT I've driven in a long time. I mean, better than Honda's even, I think. And that's really saying something, because the best CVTs can usually do is go unnoticed. And I'm noticing this and am pleasantly surprised. But okay, 147 horsepower, even though this is a compact car and the transmission's a lot better than I expected, it's not fast. Weight to power is 19.5 to 1, about 20 to 1. And that's reasonable. You're not going to get in anyone's way, but it's not fast either. Okay, so it's not a sports car, but it is actually a lot more luxurious than you'd expect, certainly than I expected. This 7th generation Elantra has a lot more refinement than I initially thought it would. Wind noise is really well isolated, road noise is really well isolated, so it's quiet in here, it's very comfortable, the seats provide good support, and I have all the things I need in here, you know, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto being standard, you know, available heated seats and all these kind of things. The leather wrapped steering wheel feels really nice. Plenty of controls on the steering wheel, and the display audio works well. The screen for the instrument cluster, that's all easy to read. And everything about this car, and the engine sound, I should note critically, the engine sound, it's not fast, but it's got a nice, refined, high quality sound to it. Nothing about this car feels inferior in feel or in sound or in attitude than anything else on the market. And the amount of space you get inside is more than adequate. It's an impressive driving experience, especially when you consider that this car can still make the value argument. Base price for this car is not that much more than $20,000. I think around $20,650. That makes it a fair amount less than the new Honda Civic. And it still provides more refinement and more comfort than I've ever experienced in an Elantra before. On top of that, while it's not engaging in the best levels, it's a totally competent handler. The car reacts to your inputs completely predictably, and it's not fast, but it's enjoyable enough. you could crack a smile if you go through some twisty roads. Now, certainly the Honda Civic is ahead of the Elantra there in that particular category, but the fact that the Elantra will play in that category is a bonus. Plus, don't forget, Hyundai does have an N-line version of this car that does have more power and I bet sharper handling as well. We'll have to try that car out and see how that compares to its competition. So what do you have? You have a car that is reasonable for handling, better than expected when it comes to quietness and comfort and those types of things, plenty of technology to work with, and still a really good price. This is a great car. Plus, a lot more people will like the styling than I think anyone has in the past. You know, it's a little bit controversial. When I first saw it, my first glance was like, whoa, that's a little much, but it's certainly grown on me and it gets a lot of attention. I was in a drive-through line to pick up some takeout food, and the woman handing it to me said, oh, what's that? And I said, oh, it's the new Hyundai Elantra. She goes, wow, must be expensive. Hyundais are not known for being expensive, are they? That's not usually the first word that comes to car nerds' minds when they hear the brand Hyundai. But this woman, not being a car person, just looking at it, her first thought was, wow, this must be an expensive car. This car is grabbing people's attention, and it's the right kind of attention. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you for watching. And if you are still watching, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel. That would really help me out and I'd appreciate it. All right, goodbye. This is the most exciting part. I'm driving over railroad tracks.